This short video is to discuss the wiring, etc. of the electric start unit that I have on this T150 Trident. I'm taking advantage of the fact the bike is stripped down a little so I can set the tappets. So I've taken the carbs off and the tappet covers and such like, having recently torqued the head down. The starter motor is a Rob North unit. The clutch cover is a standard T160 one that I bought several years ago now. And have slightly modified. The breather on the top is capped by an aluminium cap that I just turned up. It's got an O-ring inside it, such that vacuum caused by the carbs and inlet will suck some of the fumes out the primary chain case through the little spigot that sticks out the back of the timing cover. There are two wires going into the starter motor. The thick wire, which carries the main power to the actual motor, and then the thin black wire, which is driving the actual solenoid in here. The thin wire goes up to the relay under the seat, and then the thick wire goes straight to the battery. The starter motor consists of two main lumps. There is the motor itself, and then there is a solenoid, and the solenoid gears down, well, the gearing in there gears down the starter motor, so you get a lot of torque, but it also pushes the shaft forward so that the starter motor itself engages the back of the clutch to turn the engine over. So the main body of the clutch is the back plate, and this one is from a T160, so it has the starter ring incorporated into this plate. There are, of course, several ways of connecting or disconnecting the starter motor from the engine, because you obviously don't want it connected while the engine's running. This uses a solenoid pushing the starter sprocket into the back of the clutch, in this case, to start a ring to turn the engine. You obviously get an inertia starter motor, which, as it says, relies on the inertia, so the engine spins, well, the motor spins, and the gear stays still long enough that it actually comes out on a spiral and then engages into the starter ring, which then holds it in place. And of course, another way is a sprag clutch, and I had one of those on a Ducati, and it used to, one of the problems, it used to roll the clutch, the starter, excuse me, it used to roll the sprag clutch, and then you had all sorts of issues because it was actually driving the electric motor while the engine was running, assuming the engine had started. I wanted to use a starter motor button on the standard for this year anyway, switch cluster. So to do that, you obviously, well, perhaps don't realise, but you don't want a lot of current going through that switch. Hence the use of the handlebar push button is powered by 12 volts. 12 volts comes from the battery through the fuse and then off up to the switch, and that comes back down to this relay. It's a pretty bog standard relay, although high current, and the power from the switch comes onto the relay and energizes the coil, and that then allows the volts to go down onto the solenoid inside the starter motor. The solenoid inside the starter motor is a very large coil because it is designed to move the internals of the starter motor to engage the back of the clutch. This relay is a lot smaller. The coil in there is probably a tenth the size of the one in the starter motor, and it draws a lot less current. The main power to the starter motor, comes from the battery, and obviously it's got a ground, and because of the cranking current for that starter is somewhere over 100 amps, I've used very large cables, more to do with the voltage drop. I've got a very small lithium-ion battery, and I mean it is small and incredibly light, so that the whole system works. You've got power, and power going through the fuse up to the switch and back down to the relay, and then the starter fuse actually allows the power down the solenoid wire into the starter motor. The solenoid moves forward, actually engages the clutch, but also powers the electric motor itself, which starts spinning, and that's where the big cable is used and the large amount of current is flowing, and starts the engine. So far with the Rob North starter, it has been very reliable and works every time, which is wonderful. And I even used it to pump the oil out of the engine when the anti-drain valve on the bottom failed. The starter motor on the T150 seems to work quite well. It is very reliable. I should take this opportunity to point out that the LP Williams anti-drain valve that's in the filter, oil filter, is working extremely well, and the oil is staying in the oil tank.